Hello, welcome to 10 things we hate about Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. You have put the game down.
Sorry. There it is.
Held it up during the love one and then put it down for the hate one. But yeah, 10 things we hate about this specific game, released on the PlayStation 1, mid-90s. Go check out the love videos to make sure you see that we actually do love this game way more than we hate. And put it this way, coming up with 10 things we hate was really difficult. There's only sometimes you can say loading and graphics and stuff like that. But we've managed it. So here we go. I will begin. Kain. The character Kain reminds me of Louis from Interview with a Vampire because it's all, oh, woe is me, I'm a vampire. Man, you're cool. Stop being a dick. And Kain is so much like that.
Yeah,
and you talked about in the love video about it being like speaking like poetry, which is how Louis often talks in Interview with a Vampire.
Something with vampires and poetry, they seem to mesh together, and yeah, Kain is definitely a moody prick, but I do think he has good reason to be a moody prick.
So does Louis and all that, I get that.
They're the reasons.
But you also got to wonder, and it got me thinking, I wonder how much this game was inspired by Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire, because Vorador loves being a vampire, a little bit sleazy, mansion, sexy and stuff like that. There's Lestat.
Yeah. And the choice he gives him, like we mentioned in the love hit, it's not much of a choice, is it?
Yeah.
Kind of like, if you don't turn to a vampire, you're gonna like burn in hell. Like,
it's not really a choice anymore.
Yeah.
It's like Interview Vampire's choices die or become a vampire.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not really a choice.
They, Victus, suffering to the conquered. Ironic that now I was the one suffering. Not anything as pedestrian as physical pain, rather the cruel jab of impotent anger. The hunger for revenge. I didn't care if I was in heaven or hell. All I wanted was to kill my assassins. Sometimes you get what you wish for. The necromancer Mortanius offered me a chance for vengeance, and like a fool, I jumped at his offer without considering the cost. Nothing is free, not even revenge.
You will have the blood you hunger for.
But yeah, so that's
a good point. I actually had that one as well.
Oh yeah, okay.
So number one, I'm sure you have this one because it's probably one of the most negative aspects of the game, and that's the loading times, which are excruciating. You know, simply going to and from your inventory leads to some very lengthy loading times, and you know, heaven forbid you want to choose a different weapon.
Yep.
Yeah.
You would try and avoid it. Every fucking screen, every building, every red spot that would look at a sign. Oh my god. And you know what? I wonder if you remember this. Not just that, making the mistake of doing this. Kain or a character or something is talking, and as you're moving around the map, and then you accidentally hit one of the menu buttons, and the game will basically stop dead, and it will continue to speak, and you will not be able to move until he finishes talking, and then it'll go to the downloading screen again.
I think I had that issue a lot because on PS1, I don't know why sometimes games would have different button, they'd be mapped differently on different games. So like, I think it was a really random button to go to the menu, I think. I can't remember what button it was.
There was several, that's the thing. There was.
I swear if you pressed like just triangle, it would take you to the menu.
Maybe,
or something.
yeah.
I don't know if it was a start button, but yeah.
Because we had the options, but you had then the inventory area where you dress Kain up and put weapons on him and stuff.
But yeah, it's a massive issue in the game.
Of course I had it. It's basically it's arguably the number one biggest issue with this game.
It was my number one.
Yep. Well, it was my number 4, but yeah.
It was the first thing I thought of.
Okay, right. The intro. So the intro has one of those things that I hate, where basically you get a load of cutscenes that shows a lot of scenes that don't make sense until you play the game through. And it implies, considering this as a start, that there was content before. It's confusing. You get a massive scenes from, some of it's fine where it shows like vampires being hunted down and put on stakes and all that, but then you're seeing shit that happens like to do with the pillars. You're seeing stuff that happens later in the game, stuff related to this guy called Malik. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
It throws a lot of the mythology in your face, and like you don't really understand the gravity of it all. You know how? Yeah. It's a lot to take in.
Just don't like that. Let that come in the game. Just start off with the in scene.
Yeah, they could have paced the flashbacks out better throughout the game as you learn more. You know.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
Call your dogs! They can feast on your corpses! For failing the circle, Malak of the Sarafan, you are hereby damned. The pleasures of the flesh are no longer yours. You have but one purpose, damned warrior. You will serve us for eternity.
My second one is there's a lot of puzzle dungeons in the game. It's like it actually is like a big part of it, and I think they're quite repetitive.
Yeah.
And not much fun really. They're full of annoying traps, and you got to do there's a lot of switch puzzles.
Switches, yeah.
You got to navigate across fields of spikes and all that sort of stuff, and it's very easy to die. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Fun.
You talk switch part. That's what I take away from it the most. Is what you'd be in a dungeon. And basically, you get to a point where you're basically looking for sometimes a switch that's just part of a wall. And while they did always mainly stand out, like slightly different, like protruding. You kind of, if it's a big dungeon, you'd end up having to backtrack to find this one switch to open one gate, or you'd be walking through a dungeon at the start, hit a switch, hear that sound of something opening. Where the fuck was that? But there was a lot of it. Yeah, a lot of it.
Too much.
Yeah, too much of it. Yeah. An obvious one, the story gets really complicated to follow. While it's not quite as messy as, say, Soul Reaver is at the end, things like regarding like the character Malak, who's mentioned already, Vorador, the time travel situation, it all gets a bit like, what's going on? And why do these pillars matter so much? And so on. Do you know what I mean? Like, this whole...
Yeah.
They're constantly banging about the balance of Nosgoth, but it's like, why?
Yeah, like, you do have to take a lot of what they're saying to heart and just accept it.
Yeah.
Because... like you said, the pillars and stuff, like how are they so integral to the world?
Yeah.
How do these pillars getting destroyed, it corrupts the world and whatnot? Like, how does that really work? You can't think too much about it otherwise.
No, you really can't. Yeah.
So, okay, my next one is that simply navigating the world and like knowing what to do and where to go can be a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Like, that's not like the simplest thing to figure out a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Like, there's no objective marker really. I mean, the world itself is kind of open, but the paths you can take are quite linear,
Yes,
so it's hard to get lost, but at the same time, like, you can backtrack, which I think maybe at times you do have to do that as well.
Yeah.
So, and I can't recall entirely, like, if you're given a good indication of what you're supposed to do. Like, but the way I remember it is, like, just kind of randomly coming across what you're supposed to do rather than really knowing it.
I'm going to have it as well. It's not easy to navigate. It's very easy to get lost. You made a very good point about it being like an open world, but it's linear paths. What I always remember, what I found from that is there was always a point of moving forward. Like, there was the point to move forward. But sometimes you would have to backtrack. But where that backtracking was, because there wasn't a great map. It needed a great map. Now, because it's PS1 and all that, and we're not as lazy nowadays, I don't necessarily think an objective marker was that important. But it was in the sense of, where have I been? Where can I go? An overworld map. You didn't really have that. You had two that you could look at and one that zoomed out higher of the area you were in. That was the problem. That was the problem. And a lot of times, once you got the bat thing, it would just be like, I don't know where to go. Let me fly to the next place, and hopefully I'll find something there. It was a lot of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so another really annoying aspect in the game, actually, is water.
Oh, God.
And how it hurts Kain, because, like, that's quite an old-fashioned, like...
it's classic vampire.
Classic weakness of vampires.
Yeah.
But it's, like, I think it's quite a dumb one, really, and I can see why it was dropped in future, like, movies and stuff about vampires, because it's kind of silly. Like, vampires already have so many things there.
Can fuck them up.
Yeah.
Let's just make it holy water instead of water specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's, like, kind of dumb, and it's annoying.
It can make certain areas difficult to navigate. I have it in a way. I have swamp areas, poison, water, in particular near Vorodor's mansion, which are just nightmares to navigate because you've got massive space of, be it water or swampland that hurt fucking Kain.
Doesn't it makes you, like, then you have to turn into the werewolf at certain points so you
to
can,
leap
like,
over
so you can
it.
leap across certain, like, puddles and stuff.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolute pain in the arse. And like Soul Reaver would do that as well, except that at least with Soul Reaver you would get the upgrade, so to speak, where he would be able to swim and stuff like that.
It's just like, sunlight is bad enough, but also, like, rain.
Yeah, the rain would start to hurt you. Oh, yeah, just like, oh my god, he's powerful, but he's really not. Yeah.
Like you said, it meets the mythology of classic, like, vampires, but in a game it's a bit annoying.
Yeah. Alright, well, cheap boss battles, I have it. Boss battles in this game were really fucking difficult. And I'm going to go back to the same character I keep bringing up, Malik. He's this big ass, what are they called? Halberd? Yeah. And he wide swing that, so getting close to him is the problem. You end up just running away and spamming until you run out of magic, your missile firing magic and stuff like that. Not fun. Not fun at all.
No.
But a lot of them were like that, where it was like you wanted this really cool duel and you just couldn't, because they'd either Nupraptor would disappear and reappear and then shooting stuff at you and all that, and you could never get close to him. Always felt really cheap, and particularly the further you get in, the more you're upgrading, you're like, okay, I should be able to handle this a bit more. I know it's a boss, so it's got to be a certain difficulty, but it always felt really cheap to me and unmemorable. Like when I think about boss battles in Legacy of Blood Omen, I don't really remember them.
No,
compared to Soul Reaver. Yeah.
That's true. Okay, so the sword play in the game, right? It works well enough, but it's very clunky.
Oh god, yeah.
And you have to position Kain kind of correctly to hit an enemy, and you start swinging, and you kind of just hope for the best.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be better.
It could be better as well. Not only that, it's repetitive.
Yeah.
If you're just using standard swords and all that, it gets repetitive as fuck, because it's just effectively swing as fast as possible until you get the chance to suck the blood or kill them. All while he screams very Victus over and over again like a fucking lunatic. You know? You are right. Alright, I'm running out here. I've got 3. Alright, yeah. The good ending is shit. Simple as that. I know it's not the canon ending, and that's why it doesn't really care. Who cares? But that good ending with the Nosgoth was saved, and here's a fading shot of Kain's face and all that, and it's like, yeah, that's shit. That's shit.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay.
In his life, he was unknown, a petty noble. In death, he was unknown. Yet by choosing oblivion, he restored balance to the land. Shades cast no shadows.
I'll leave that point for last, actually. I think also the performance in the game, like the technical performance of the game, can be poor at times.
Yes.
I don't know if it was down to the copy that I was playing, if it was scratched or whatever, but if you were in a room where you had to suck the blood of multiple enemies and you try to suck like 8 people at once or something crazy, having those 8 streams come towards you would cause some serious slowdown,
lag,
lag, and
it's not your copy then.
The frame rate would go to shit,
It's it's not your copy. That's something I've experienced recently on something that shouldn't be doing it on that. Basically, it's not the PlayStation 1. Put it that
coded into the game.
It's just you're just asking too much of it. I think part of the problem with Blood Omen is, and it's unfortunately it's something we praise at the same time, is because they've gone for such a level of detail and backgrounds and Kain and the characters and all that. You can see different shades of clothing, you can see belts, you can see these detail. When you try and do too much, it's like, no, you're pushing it too far. I'd imagine if on the PC it probably was alright, but not on the PlayStation 1. No. Not in the 1996 when this was released. God no,
it's a bit of an issue.
Yeah. Alright, I've got 2 more, so
I've got 2 more as well.
Yep. It pales in comparison to its sequel. I can't think of many games. Maybe that's not fair. Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2, it's not that big of a jump. But I've never seen a jump so huge from Blood Omen Legacy of Kain to Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's only a couple of years, I think it's maybe 5 years between them. No, 4 years. To see that level of fucking jump. And Soul Reaver came out on the PlayStation 1 too, as well.
Yeah,
Whoa.
This was back in a time when, you know, when you got a sequel to a game, like, it was a proper sequel. Like,
yeah.
You know, these days you get a sequel and it's basically like a DLC. You know?
Yeah.
But back then, when you got a sequel, like from Resident Evil 1 to 2,
yep.
you know, you got these massive improvements, almost new games entirely. You could tell they were made from the ground up, brand new, you know?
Yeah.
Avernus lay in ruins before me. Whatever hand slaughtered its people ravaged the city as well.
It was fantastic, and because of that, this last one then, ultimately, by today's standards, and I know you can say we shouldn't hold today's standards, but you kind of you do not comparing it to modern games, but when you go back to play it, Blood Omen hasn't aged well. All the issues we've listed.
Yeah, that's my final point. I actually had that as well about the sequel.
Yeah.
My final point is also that unfortunately, you know, I hate to say it, but the game hasn't aged very well. You know, visually, technically. And, you know, I remember it in my mind looking so much better, but, you know, when you look back at it now, the textures are quite blurry, and, it's...
Again, like I said, I'm playing it recently. I got some footage I put up on the YouTube channel, and I played about 30 minutes of, and I struggled with the loading times, the one that we mentioned the most. I was just like, oh, how did we ever... Well, I guess because we knew no better. We knew no real difference. Yeah. But how on earth we dealt with that? I think I remember just going, after I pressed the menu button one too many times, I was like, oh, and I'm using it on a thing where the button mapping is not what it's supposed to be. So very easily get confused.
You say we knew better, but like when I was writing this list, that's the first thing that came to my mind. So obviously even back then I remember thinking like, bloody hell.
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind, yeah, absolutely. There you go, there's our 10 things we hate about Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. Make sure you check out the love video, because we do have a lot of positives to say as well. Check out the other content. We will in future, of course, cover Soul Reaver. Yeah. Got to, really. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, and obviously this is a video about why we hate Blood Omen, but I just wanted to throw something in at the end because this is a great game, one of my fondest childhood games. Yeah. I love it, so much so that I actually have a tattoo of the Soul Reaver, the physical and spectral Soul Reavers on my arm right here. I don't know if you can see it in there, but just there and there.